Hey folks, welcome. This is Gently Chaotic Knits, which is a video podcast, mostly about knitting, but sometimes about any other crafting that I may get up to. My name is Emily, and I live in Seattle, Washington with my husband Nafis and our pup Norman, and I'm so excited to be here chatting with y'all today. I feel like I have a lot to talk about. It's been, I think, a couple weeks since my last episode. I'm trying to get into a good rhythm. I even went through and penciled out the day on my calendar every roughly 2 weeks for the next couple of months that I'm hoping to record, just so that maybe that'll help me kind of stay on track. I think I talked about this a little bit in the last episode, but it's easy for me to get into the headspace of, oh, I feel like I don't have enough to share, so I'll just wait. And some of you in the comments had just reminded me that at least there is some subset of you all that are happy to watch and listen, even if I don't have a ton of new stuff, just updates on existing projects and stuff. And so I was kind of feeling oh man, I don't know if I have enough to share. And then I actually sat down and started writing out all the stuff I wanted to talk about today. It's wow, there's a lot more than I realized. I think over a couple of weeks it really accumulates and you kind of forget the stuff from earlier in that time period. I'm oh yeah, I finished that, or I worked on that. But anyway, I feel I actually do have quite a bit to share today, and I'm hoping it's not a super long one because it's quite hot here in Seattle today. It is, what day is it? I think it's June 7th. It's Wednesday, June 7th when I'm recording, so y'all probably won't see this until Thursday, June 8th, but it is at the earliest. But it is pretty toasty here, and by I guess I mean that by Seattle standards. I'm sorry if you can hear Norman. He's licking his paw. Hey, that's enough. Thank you. Anyway, what was I talking about? Oh, it's not that hot, except I guess for Seattle standards, it's pretty warm. It's in the low 80s, which doesn't sound like it would be that warm, but when most places don't have air conditioning, even the low 80s is can be uncomfortable inside. And so I think I talked about this in previous summers, but the house we live in has a top story and a bottom story, and the bottom floor is mostly underground. It's not completely underground. There are still windows that are at the very top of the walls, but it's mostly underground, and so it stays really nice and cool in the summer, even when it gets really hot. And I do all my recording, of course, upstairs because the light is so much better here, and so I'm upstairs recording, but as soon as we're done, I'll probably go downstairs because it looks like inside of our house right now it's 80 degrees. So, and I'm a person who likes it pretty warm, but 80 is a little much for me indoors, and I can't really open the windows because it's hotter outside, so it's not gonna help. It's not gonna help us get cooler inside. So anyway, this temperature aside, I'm gonna do my best to get through all the stuff I have to share with you, but I feel I'm feeling good with my crafting. I feel I've been making good progress, although I guess, I don't know. I don't feel I've been knitting that much, but I'm finishing. I guess I'm just doing it's a season of quick projects for me right now. So anyway, I'm gonna share that and let's just go ahead and get into it. Oh, I will first say what I'm wearing is my Rift tee by Jacqueline Cieslak. This is a tried and true for me. I feel the fit is great and I just really love it. And I guess I can show you the top part a little bit if I unbuckle. This is what the front looks like, and there's a v-neck and a higher kind of boat neck option that you can do for both the front and the back, and so I just did one of each. So I did the v-neck on one side and I did the boat neck on the back. I don't know if y'all can see this at all, but it's just a little bit of a higher neck, and so then I wear mine kind of reversible. You can wear it either way. It also has this really cute split hem as well. And I think the pattern also says that you can do the back hem longer if you want, but to make mine really reversible, I did the front and back hems the same length. And then I almost always wear it with this side in the front though. So it like might as well not really be reversible, but, and then the yarn I used, I believe it's called Lima, Rowan Lima, and I think that the colorway is Peru, but I'm not 100% about that, but that's what I think it is. So yeah, and then with some nice fun short overalls. Okay, let's talk about what I finished in the since I last spoke with you all. I finished, all the things I finished start with totally. So I finished my totally rad ribbed socks, and I finished my totally tank top. So it's a totally kind of episode today, and I say finished with a grain of salt, I guess, because as you may have seen when I held these things up, there are still ends hanging off of all of them. So the knitting is done. I have not woven the ends, and I have not blocked them, which honestly, like the totally tank top, I finished just like yesterday. So that's defensible, but the socks I finished like a long time ago, over a week ago. But anyway, and I guess I haven't completely finished because I haven't hemmed down the bottom, or the top rather, like the cuff. But this is them. This is the Totally Rad Ribbed Socks by Summer Lee. I used a sock set from Yarn Baker that we had as a special sock set update last winter at La Mercerie. And it's just a beautiful color, like a tonal red with the variegated contrast. The sock set is called Heavy on the Cinnamon. And then I also added just a contrast heel. This is a La Bien-Aimée colorway called Jonna, Jonna. And that's what it looks like. And so I have two of those. There are a couple of variations on this pattern. You can do a tall version or a shorter version, a 3-stripe version, a 2-stripe version. You can do a ribbed cuff, or you can do the fold over cuff. And I did the taller 3-stripe version with the fold over cuff, but I have not sewed down the cuff yet. So I will go in and I'll sew it down, and it will look kind of like that. But it's, again, like, it's just not, I'm not itching to wear these right now because it's hot. I'm not wearing hand knit socks right now. So this is something that I feel like I will finish sometime this summer so they're ready to wear in the fall. Similarly, I have another pair of socks, which I have right here, that I've talked about. I have like 2 pairs of Christmas socks that are like ready to go as soon as I finish them. But again, like, I'm not going to be wearing these until probably like October at the earliest. And maybe not even then because they're like Christmas socks. But I have now 2 pairs of Christmas socks that I cast on around Christmas time last year, that this one just needs heels. So I'm doing just like a true afterthought heel for this one. And then this one I just need to sew down the cuff and weave in all the ends. I know I did the smallest size for the Totally Rad Ribbed socks, and I believe I did it on a US size 0. These 2 socks may not actually be identical because I did them both on a US size 0 needle, but I did them on 2 different needles. Like, one was a needle that I got in Mexico because I was like nervous about my knitting needles getting taken when I was flying, and so I bought like a cheap set of knitting needles there. I think it's like a plastic set. So I did one on that, and then I did the other one on like my Chow Goose. I did do them both magic loop because I thought that I might have a lot of gauge differences if I switched to a different method of sock knitting. So I did do them both magic loop, but I much prefer working on the Chow Goose circular needles, so I did do the second sock on the Chow Goose, and I think that my gauge was maybe a touch tighter. So I tried to make up for that by like making sure that length matched, and even if I had to knit like a couple extra rows, and so like the number of rows or rounds may not match exactly, but I feel like they turned out like close enough that I'm not going to notice when I'm wearing them. So yeah, that is my first finished object. We're calling it a finished object because I'm done with the knitting part of it. And then my second finished object is the Totally Tank Top by Jessie May. This came out not that long ago, and I just knew that I wanted to make it. It is, for my size, less than 1 skein of fingering weight yarn. I actually have quite a bit left. I did pull, normally I just pull from the outside, but for some of the edgings, I pulled from the center because I didn't want to break my yarn. So anyway, this is like a squishy, I don't know, it's like a squishy remaining skein, so there's like a little bit left. And I actually knit the body longer than the pattern recommended, and I still had yarn left over. Like, I could have gone even longer. But anyway, okay, let me take a step back. I knew I wanted to knit this as soon as it came out, and I also knew I had the perfect yarn that I wanted to knit for it. I had this yellow yarn from Aimée. I had kind of like in my mind earmarked for a really fun tank top. And I had originally planned to cast on something else, and then just like that didn't work out, and I decided to wait on it, and then this pattern came out and I knew it was perfect. So this was my first project for the summer flock along, which is a make along that we are doing over at like La Mercerie and Flock Fiber Festival. If you're unsure what I'm talking about, Flock Fiber Festival, I think I've mentioned several times here, but is a fiber festival that is happening in Seattle in August of this year. And so along with the Fiber Festival, we are doing a make along to kind of lead up to the Fiber Festival so that folks can make something and then wear it at the festival. So the make along is for any kind of tank or tee. And I have like several projects planned for it. And so this is the first one that I knit. Who knows if I will actually end up wearing this at Flock, because I think I'm gonna end up having like 4 projects that I want to wear, and there are only 3 days, or like 4 or 5 projects that I want to wear there. So I'm not sure if I'll actually end up wearing it, but I knit it along in spirit with the make along. So anyway, this is the first one that I started and finished. I started it, I guess, probably shortly after I recorded last. I started it not last Friday, but the Friday before. It took me like a week and a half to knit, so really it was a nice quick knit, and like I said, less than 1 skein of fingering weight yarn. So let me give you some details about it. This again is the Totally Tank Top by Jessie May. I knit the second size, and the only modification I made was I added a little bit of extra length to the front and back parts here. Like they tell you, the pattern says like knit to this measurement. And she actually mentioned in the pattern that some folks wanted a little bit more room in their armholes. And so I added about 1 inch to the top part, both on the front sections and the back section. The yarn I used is Igneae Cashmerino, which is actually, I believe, a wool, cashmere, and nylon blend. It has, I don't remember the exact amounts. I think it's 15% cashmere, 10% nylon, and the rest superwash merino wool. And it feels really, really nice. I think most like merino cashmere nylons have 10% cashmere, but because this one has just a little bit more, it has the 15%. It feels really, really nice. I mean, and like merino feels great too. So it feels really good. And it fits great as well. I'm probably not going to put it on right now just because I don't want to take off everything I'm wearing, and I haven't blocked it yet, so I'll probably try to weave in the ends and block it, and then maybe for my next episode I'll wear it, or I'll at least bring it on and put it on and show y'all what it looks like. Oh, another, I guess it's not really a modification, I got gauge on a size US 2.5 instead of US 3, so I did have to go down a half needle size just to get gauge for this one. I'm trying to think if there's anything else about this pattern. I mentioned I knit it a little bit longer, maybe 2 inches longer than the pattern called for, so it's more, I mean, it's still cropped, like, it's not like, I think it'll hit right around my belly button, maybe just barely above my belly button, so it's still like a cropped tank. It has this really cute racer back in the back. And there are these fun short rows that you do at the beginning that are like up here that make the fit really good on the shoulders. And then you actually pick up around the neck hole and the armholes as well. So what I actually did was I knit the top. So you knit the back first, and then you pick up the shoulders and do the left and right front, and then join those at the neck and then also at the underarm, and then you're joined in the round and you do the body just like straight down. But I paused there after I had joined in the round at the body because I wanted to go ahead and do all of the edging. So I did the neck hole and both of the armholes. That way when I tried it on for length and stuff, I had all the finishing done, so that gave me like an accurate feeling for the length. So I did pause and do that, and then it just like flew by after that. I was just stocking it in the round for the body. This pattern calls for like -4 to 6 inches of negative ease. I don't remember exactly. I think the size I picked would give me about 4 inches of negative ease. And that's before blocking. So I'll block it and I'll probably get a little bit more, it'll relax a little more, so I'll get a little bit less negative ease. But it still is going to be like, it's a close fitting garment. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else for me to say about it. I just feel like it was a quick knit. It was fun. Turned out pretty cute. So that's the Totally Tank Top by Jessie May. Okay, works in progress. I do actually have another finished object, but it's not knitting. I have a sewing finished object that I will talk about later. I'm going to do all the knitting stuff first, and then I'll talk about sewing and spinning later, because I feel like there may be people who don't want to hear me talk about sewing and spinning, and that's totally fine. But I'm going to do all the knitting stuff first. Okay. And also, I realized it might be fun. Just now I was looking at my sheet of all the garments I've knit this year, and I wish I'd kept better track of like my yardage and that kind of stuff, and I probably could. But this was the 8th garment that I have knit this year. This was garment number 8. So yeah, okay, what I've been working on. So I have one carryover work in progress from last week, and that is Nafis's sweater. So I cast on a little while ago a dad sweater, which is a pattern by me. For my husband Nafis, I picked this beautiful gray yarn. I'll give y'all a close-up of. This is Gilliatt from Rerum Natura, and the colorway is Fusain, and it's just a beautiful, dark, like heathery kind of charcoal gray, which I love. And I am knitting him the broad shoulder version, and I'm knitting him size. So this is the thing again, those of you that have been following along as I've been knitting these sweaters for my family. I'm using Gilliatt, which is a true worsted weight yarn, and the pattern originally called for Aimée Corey worsted, which is closer to like a DK weight yarn. And so it's like pretty much impossible to get gauge without the fabric being like really dense. And so I am just knitting one size smaller than I otherwise would to get the fit that my husband wants. So I am knitting a broad shoulder size 1, but it's going to give me the measurements of a broad shoulder size 2. And I hadn't worked on this very much at all in the last couple of weeks until today. Honestly, I just did maybe a couple of inches today. And so I have now, it's a little bit tricky to see because I'm at an awkward spot in the pattern, but let me see if I can like hold this up a little bit so that you guys can see what's going on. I shouldn't have picked up these stitches like right before. But basically, okay, this is the back. This is like the back panel. I finished the back panel, and then I just picked up the stitches for the left front. So like for the shoulder kind of. So this is like the shoulder, and I just picked up these stitches, and then I will knit the left front. So yeah, I mean, it's like slow progress because I haven't been feeling super motivated to work on like a really woolly wool sweater that he probably isn't gonna wear until like October or November at the earliest. So I have been kind of like slacking on this, but today I was like, maybe I'll put in just like a couple of rows, and then I was kind of cruising, and so I finished the back panel. So back panel is done, and now I'm just going to try to get this joined in the round. I'm still deciding. We're actually going on vacation next week, and I am still deciding what I want to take with me, and I'm thinking if I get this joined in the round, maybe this would be a really good thing to take on vacation because it will just be knitting in the round. I feel like that could be good. And that could also, like, it's the kind of thing where I remember hearing like other knitters talk about this. If you take just one project on vacation, then you're like forced to work on that project. You know what I mean? So like if I just take this sweater, then I know that it'll get work done on it over that week because that's all I'll have. So I may bring that, and then also just like a pair of socks or something, like something small. Or maybe like a hat, I don't know. I really want to cast on a hand-spun hat, so maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll take Nafis's sweater and a hand-spun hat. Although I'm a little bit nervous, sorry, my thoughts are kind of jumbled right now, but I'm nervous about taking my hand-spun on vacation because I'm really nervous about it getting like lost or something, because I have lost yarn. Like I left a project bag on a plane once, and maybe if it's my hand-spun I'd be extra careful about it, but I really don't want to accidentally lose it. So anyway, things to consider, but that is Nafis's sweater. That's how it's going. And I think, did I say all the information about that? I'm knitting, it's the dad sweater pattern by me. It's just like a basic top-down set-in sleeve pullover. I'm using Rerum Natura Gilliatt in the colorway Fusain. I am knitting size 1 broad shoulder to get the measurements of size 2 broad shoulder. I'm knitting it on a US size 5 needle. Pattern calls for a US 6, but I'm doing a US size 5, so it is a little bit of a denser fabric with that, along with it being a heavier weight yarn, so it's definitely a denser weight fabric than the original. This is the same yarn that I used when I knit the dad sweater for my brother and for my mom as well. It is a 100% merino wool, non-superwash. At first, I wouldn't say it's like super soft, but it doesn't have any itch to it. And after you wash it and wear it, it definitely softens up over time. So it's a great wool for a sweater that you are hoping to be in use for a really long time. So that is my first work in progress, and that's one that I think y'all have already seen. I've done a little bit of work on it before last episode, but I have a couple of new cast-ons from the last week or two. So this one is actually a new cast-on from today. I finished my Totally tank top yesterday, and so I was ready to cast on my next summer top. And so this one is also one for the summer flock along, and I know that I'm definitely going to wear this one at flock because I'm knitting a project along with my friends in my knitting group. We are all knitting projects out of the same yarn, different patterns, but all with the same yarn so that we can all match at flock, which is going to be so much fun. So this, I am knitting the Strata vest by Jacqueline Cieslak. I cast this on today. I have very little done, but I am using Explore Knits. Look at that. Explore Knits Pike Place. This is her Denali sock fingering weight base. It's just like a standard sock yarn. I think is it an 80-20 merino nylon? I'm not 100% sure, but it is so much fun. It's so bright, so fun. It's really enjoyable to knit with just because it's like, I don't know, it's just really a fun color. So anyway, yeah, I am doing the Strata vest, and this is just the back panel. I did a little bit of short rows on the sides, and then, yeah, I am just cruising on the back panel, and I cast this on again like today, so it's going by pretty quickly, I would say, although I don't have a ton of it done. And I do have 2 skeins of this yarn. Oh, I can look at this right here. Yeah, 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. I don't know if I'm gonna have to break into the second skein or not. Luckily, I think that like these two are really like similar in color, so even if I do need to break into the second one, it's not a big deal. But like I'm not gonna alternate skeins or anything because I don't want to do that. And Explore Knits, her tonals are so consistent that I'm not really worried about it. Like, I feel like it's gonna be fine, but anyway, this is so much fun. I'm knitting the second size for this one as well, and I'm really hoping to wear it both as like a tank but also as a vest. I feel like it'd be really cute. I know she kind of like styles it that way as well, so I think that would be really fun. Also, I am actually using the recommended needle size for this one. I have found myself often having to go down a needle size because I have discovered that I'm somewhat of a loose knitter, but I actually started the project on, the pattern calls for a US 4 needle, and I started the project on a US 3 needle. I didn't swatch because I was like, it'll be fine. I don't know, I just didn't want to, which is really bad, and I should have swatched, but it's like a tank, and I didn't have to cast on that much, so I was like, this is kind of my swatch. I'll just cast on, and then I'll see how it goes, and then I'll measure it, and if it's off, then I'll rip it out and restart, and that is exactly what I had to do. So I cast on using a US 3 needle, and it was a little bit too tight. It probably would have been okay, and I was a little bit like unsure. I wasn't really between sizes. I was closer to size 2 than size 1, but it was like maybe a touch more ease than I was wanting. So I was like, if it's a little tight, it's okay. But it was pretty tight. So I don't know, it probably would have been okay with blocking, but I decided to just go ahead and restart. My row gauge was pretty off as well, and so I wanted a little bit more room in my row gauge. So I decided to rip it out and recast on a US 4, and I'm getting much closer to gauge now. I'm still like a little bit off, I think, but it's pretty close. So I'm wondering if Jacqueline Cieslak is also a loose knitter, if I had success with the same needle size that she recommends. I'm wondering if she and I are both loose knitters, but anyway, that is Strata vest. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to say about it. I'm hoping this just flies off the needles. I think it'll be really good and really fun. So hopefully quick as well. And then I have several other like tees and tanks planned that I want to knit this summer, so we'll see what I'm able to get through. I don't know if I'm going to make it through everything that I want to knit this summer. We'll see. It's barely the beginning of June, so we've got time. We've got time left, but that is Strata. And then the last thing I have not done very much work on, but I finished my Totally Rad ribbed socks, and so I wanted to cast on a new pair of socks because I always like to have a pair of socks on the needles. I was originally hoping I'd be able to get my hand spun yarn that I want to use for socks finished in time to start it, like after I finish those socks, but I still have a little bit to go, and I honestly have not been getting as much spinning time as I hoped that I would. I guess I'm in complete control of that. It's really hard for me, y'all, like it's really hard for me to ever choose to do something other than knitting. I really enjoy spinning, but I think I am just in such a pattern of like knitting is my go-to that it's hard for me to stop and be like, oh, I could spin now instead. So I think I just need to get into a better routine with it. But anyway, I'll talk about spinning more in a second. But I was like, I don't want to force it. I'm going to just go ahead and cast on a pair of socks. And I also wanted to cast on a pair of socks because I wanted to take a sock project. We went to the Mariners game a couple weeks ago, or like not last weekend, but the weekend before. And I wanted to bring a sock project to work on at the game. So I decided it was time for me to knit another pair of socks for Nafis. So I'm working on a sweater and a pair of socks for him right now. I feel like I am being very sweet. I'm being a very sweet wife right now. And they're both gray because I know him well and I know that's what he wants. But I also gave him the option. I actually like kind of I've accumulated a couple skeins of yarn over time that I was like, this would be good for a pair of socks for Nafis, or like I want to make a pair of socks for Nafis with this. So I had a couple skeins in stash, and I asked him like you know, whenever I was going to cast on a couple weeks ago, I asked him which skein he wanted, like which pair of socks he wanted first, and he picked this one, which is Ovis, etc. Igneae in the, I believe it's called Confettie Charcoal. Confetti Charcoal. Sorry, I said that kind of weird. Confetti Charcoal colorway, which is another just beautiful confetti yarn from Ovis, etc. I've knit a pair of socks with not this exact yarn, a different colorway of this yarn. I knit a pair of, I think it was the colorway is Confetti Pine and Pink, so it was a green main color with pink speckles, and for myself, and they turned out really cute, and so I wanted to knit a pair for Nafis as well, and so I grabbed the charcoal and cream color, and that's what Nafis said he wanted. So I put this on a wooden 9-inch circular needle just to be sure that like I would get through security and stuff, and so this will be good for like planes, and it'll be good for, it was good for like getting into the baseball stadium and everything too. And so I basically only worked on this at the Mariners game, and that's all I did. So I did just a 1x1 rib cuff, and then I'm doing a 3x1 rib for the body of the sock, if that's the terminology that we're gonna go with. Which I talked about that a little bit in my last episode, if you don't know what I'm laughing at. But it's really fun. It is doing a little bit of kind of like a spiral. You can see the specks are kind of like lining up that way, which I don't love, but I also don't hate. Like, it's fine. I'm not that unhappy about it. This side is much better. I think this side is more, you can really see the like pattern a little bit, but it's not a big deal. It doesn't bother me that much. I'm using a US size 0 needle again for this, and I believe I cast on maybe 64 stitches, I think. I'm not going to count them right now. I think it's 64 stitches, and I'm not really following a pattern for this. I'm just like knitting a sock. I'll probably just do a heel flap and gusset, maybe a slip stitch heel. That's kind of my standard, and then that'll be it. But it'll probably be a while before I finish these socks. These will just be socks that I take with me. Like, you know, it's good to have a small project that I throw in my bag when I go somewhere, but I often, like, you know, I don't end up knitting that much. Like, I don't know. I just feel like if I'm going to go somewhere where I know I'm going to have more knitting time, I'll bring a larger project, but I never want to get stuck somewhere without my knitting. I don't know if this makes sense. So I always will toss a small project in my bag, even if I'm going somewhere where I don't expect that I'm going to be able to knit. So like I'll be running errands. So like I had to like return something somewhere, or like I'm going to therapy or whatever. I will have this in my purse, but I almost never take it out because I'm not really expecting to, but I still have it in there. I don't know if that makes sense, but I have this with me. I've had it with me like pretty much the whole time, the last like week and a half, anytime I go somewhere, but I haven't really worked on it because I've been doing the thing that I left the house to do, if that makes sense. I don't know. So it may be a while before these actually, I make progress on them, but I have them on the needles ready to go for whenever I need them. And that's pretty much all I've been working on knitting wise. I have other stuff that I'm like ready to cast on. I talked about, maybe I'm like thinking about this more now, and I have the yarn here so I can show you. I'm thinking about doing a hand spun Harlow hat. So these are my first two like what I would consider to be legitimate knittable skeins of hand spun. So this one was a, sorry, my yarn is falling behind me. This one was a BFL Merino Marl. The gray is BFL and the cream is Merino. And then this one was a mystery. The colorful ply is a mystery. It came from like a mystery bag. And then the cream is also Merino. It's the same Merino that's in here. And I'm thinking about using the two of these together in a Harlow hat. I don't know what they'll look like together, or like if there will be enough contrast, or I don't know. I just feel like it could be fun. So I was actually thinking, maybe for my travel this week, I'll wind this one up and then I could cast this on and take it with me on my trip. in addition to taking this sweater. That could be my travel knitting. But I haven't knit with my hand spun yet, so I feel like I really want to. So I think I'm gonna wind this up. Maybe I'll wind it up today. Maybe I'll just wind it up and cast on today. Like, that could be fun. I'm really excited to knit with my hand spun, so maybe I will do that. But anyway, I really want to cast that on. I also have another summer tee that I talked about last time. I want to use this yarn from also Ovis, etc. This is Erba, the sport weight base. I'm dropping things. And I want to cast on the Karina tee by Sari Nordland, which is just like a really cute cabled t-shirt. I'm just imagining like this outfit that I'm wearing today with my like short overalls. I like it with the rift tee, but can you imagine it with a cabled t-shirt in this yarn underneath these like cute overalls? I feel like that would be so cute. And this is one where I think I'll enjoy knitting it. I love knitting pretty much anything, but I'm like, I really want the t-shirt. Like, I want the thing so badly that I'm like really itching to cast that on. So, okay. I'm trying to decide what order I should do the rest of my things. I have some acquisitions, so let's go ahead and do that, and then I'll talk about some spinning and sewing, maybe. I don't have a ton to talk about with spinning, but I have a doozy of a sewing project to talk about. Oh my gosh, y'all. If you saw my Instagram post about this, then you probably know what I'm talking about. But let's talk acquisitions first, because that's more fun. I bought some yarn. I was not planning to buy some yarn, but sometimes there's yarn that is just so good of a deal that you can't say no to it. And that is what happened to me like in the last couple of weeks. I saw Claire from Autumn and Indigo posted in her Instagram stories that she had some stuff available on her Poshmark. And I think she was talking mostly about like bags and like, I don't know if she had any samples, that kind of stuff available on her Poshmark, but I went to look to see what she had available, and she also had a couple of yarn bundles available on her Poshmark, and they are heavily discounted. So I grabbed one. I got 5 skeins of this yarn. So this is Autumn and Indigo Classic Sock in the colorway Summer Gold. Is that what it's called? Yeah, Summer Gold. I got 5 skeins of fingering weight yarn for $50. I feel like that's such a good deal. And I really like the color. It's like, I mean, I love a mustard. It's a little bit brown for me. Like, it's a little bit on the brown side of mustard than would be my like favorite. But I was like, this is just too good. This is too good to pass up. I feel like this is a great color for fall. And I had to do it. And so I have 5 skeins of this. I'm not 100% sure what I will knit with it, and it may not be for a little bit before I knit with it. I am thinking, since it's fingering weight, I have a tee pattern that I just released, the color tip tee. I'm thinking about just hacking together a long sleeve version of that and just having like a really beautiful gold long sleeved tee with, I'm not sure with or without the pocket yet. Maybe I would knit it first and see if I wanted the pocket or not. Maybe without the pocket, honestly. Just like a really classic gold tee, like long sleeve tee, I feel like it would be really great. That would also be cute under overalls, and would be a really good like transitional kind of fall piece. I think that would be perfect for fall. Oh, now I'm like, oh, do I need to knit this right now? Like, that would be really nice. I just feel like, yeah, a long sleeve version of that would be really fun. I also, since I have 5 skeins, I have so much. I could probably knit 2 garments. If I did like a long sleeve and a short sleeve, I could do a short sleeve color tip tee as well. I could do, I'm thinking about like, I could do a pair of socks. I feel like this would be a great like classic sock colorway. I don't know. I just feel like I have so many options. So 5 skeins of this I got for $50. I did have to pay shipping, but it was still like $60 for 5 skeins of fingering weight yarn. I don't know if this is when they were doing hand dye. I don't think this is hand dye. I think this is when they switched over to doing like batch dyed, or like, I don't know if it's machine dyed, I'm not really sure. Commercially dyed, I guess is what you would say. So I don't think it's hand dyed, but it's still, like, it's really nice. This is a, looks like a 4-ply to me, and it's a 75% superwash merino wool, 25% nylon. 463 yards per 100 grams. Summer gold. So I did buy this. That's the only yarn, though, that I bought. I also got a book, though, that I wanted to show y'all. I bought from La Mercerie the Moosh and Friends book. How cute is this? Moosh and Friends. It's a little book. It's a book by Cynthia Valet, I think is how you say her name, but I'm not 100% sure. And she has a couple patterns you can actually find that she's published independently of these little precious stuffies. They're seamlessly knit stuffed animals. And I'll show you some of them because they're so cute. Like, look, this is Billy the raccoon. How cute. Or Horatio the donkey. Ah, they're so cute. Or, oh my gosh, the sheep, Aggie the sheep. And their clothes are precious. Aggie has this little vest that looks like fleece. And then the original, like the first animal, Moosh, is this precious bear. He's so cute. Anyway, I've never knit stuff like stuffies or stuffed animals before, or crocheted them or anything. Like, I've never done the like amigurumi thing or whatever, but I have some people in my life who either just recently had babies or like about to have babies, and I thought that this would be really fun. Like, I love the idea of knitting little garments and stuff, but I feel like they grow out of it so quickly, and like, I'm fine with that. I understand that, but I feel like this would just be really fun. Even if it's like not something that they love to play with or whatever, it still would just be like a really cute thing to put in like a nursery or a bedroom, and it's just sweet. So we'll see. I'm worried it's going to be like kind of fiddly. They're going to be kind of fiddly to make and like not super fun to make, but from what I've heard, the instructions are just really incredible. And again, it's like they're seamless, so it's not like you are knitting all these little pieces and then seaming them together. I think she almost always has you start at like the little nose, and so you do the head first, and then you're like doing short rows and stuff all the way through the rest of the body to get it all finished. And then I think you just do like one seam around the bum, and that's it. So I'm not sure which one I'll start with, but I think they're really sweet. I have to show you the pig Alphonse. He's so cute. They're so, oh, look at this. Look at his little sweater and his pants. Like, are you kidding me? I don't know. So I don't know when I'm gonna knit that, but I got the book because it's just too precious. It's just so precious. I think independently outside of the book, you can find some of her patterns, and she has like a bunny, I think, and a turtle, and maybe some other stuff. So definitely check that out if you are interested in doing any little stuffy knitting. And that's it for acquisitions. I don't have anything else, I don't think. I'm really trying not to buy a ton of yarn before flock happens in August. I feel like I've been staying roughly on pace with my plan of only buying sweater quantities when I have already knit 2 garments from stash, and or like garments I already had planned. And so I've done 8 garments this year, and I don't think I've bought more than 4 sweater quantities. And I'll say again, like, I'm making my own rules here, so t-shirt quantities I decided don't count. And also, I guess, well, I don't know, maybe t-shirt quantities should count. But, well, I'm trying to figure out if that means that I've broken my rule then or not. But anyway, basically, I'm I'm trying to stay on pace with that. And the other thing that doesn't count is if I have a yarn in stash and I buy another yarn to pair with it, that doesn't count either. So I think I'm like around 4. I have a couple that I bought on pre-order that have not arrived yet. So maybe I'm not quite on track with that, but it's okay. I'm about to knit more like t-shirts. Those will be quick, like tees and tanks. This one is gonna be done before you know it, and then I just have to do one more, and then I'm like maybe back on track. I don't know. I need to do some accounting for my yarn purchasing, but I really am gonna try not to buy pretty much any yarn between now and flock. So that would be for all of June and July. I'm gonna try not to buy any yarn. I like, you know, of course something could happen, or like, you know, if we go on vacation and I visit a yarn store from like that's farther away, then maybe I would do like some small purchasing there, but for the most part I'm really gonna try to keep it to a minimum before flock, because I have lots of really beautiful stuff that I already own that I just like would love to work through. So anyway, that is my acquisitions and my like all my knitting stuff. So now I have some spinning and sewing that I wanted to talk to y'all about. First off, let's just go ahead and get the sewing out of the way, because I don't feel great about how it went, but also just like sewing generally. So let's talk about it. I don't sew a ton. I got a sewing machine a couple years ago, like in 2020 in the pandemic, and started by just like doing really basic stuff. I sewed some curtains, and then I started sewing garments, and I've only done a few, and I've had like various amounts of success with that, I would say. I've had some garments go really well, and I've had some, I would say most, go like not super well, but I never like gotten quite as into it as knitting or even spinning. And I think part of that is that for sewing, I never really just like enjoyed the process of sewing. I think I like continued to hope that I would, and I thought it was one of those things where like if I did it more and I got more comfortable with it, I would start to enjoy it more. And there were so many beautiful sewn things that I really wanted to have, and so I was like, I can sew this, I'm going to do it because I want the thing so badly. So anyway, I have like a very small fabric stash. I just have like a couple of like bits of fabric in my stash, and one of those bits of fabric I had was some linen that I wanted to make a pair of shorts with. And so I decided, I think I was really feeling like the sewing energy probably after Me Made May, like seeing everyone's really fun sewn outfits. It's like, I really want to just sew a pair of shorts. So I sewed a pair of shorts with the linen fabric that I had in my stash, and here they are. These are the shorts. I'm not going to put them on right now because, again, like I'm not wearing an outfit that's super conducive for that, but I will put a picture up on the screen of me wearing the shorts. And I don't know if you can tell in the picture, if you can tell from me holding them up, but these shorts are way too big. They're way too big. And I don't even know where to start with this. I don't even know where to start. So I sewed these shorts. It was on last Friday. It was my first time assembling a pattern, like printing the pattern out on 8.5 by 11 paper, like on printer paper, and then taping it together and then cutting out the pattern pieces from there. Most of the time I had, or like all the times in the past when I've used a pattern, I had just gone to like a coffee shop, or not a coffee shop, a copy shop, and printed the large format copy shop version of the pattern. But for this time, I don't know, like, I guess I got confused about the copy that they gave me, or the digital version of the pattern. I was like, I think I can only do this if I do the printer paper and I tape it together. Anyway, I had that in my head. So I went, I printed it out, and I brought it back home, and I taped it all together, and I cut out my pattern pieces, and then I sewed the shorts, like I cut out the fabric, I sewed the shorts, and like as I was sewing the shorts, before I put the waistband in, before I put in like it's a elastic waistband, so before I put the elastic in, I was like, these seem really big, but I thought that it was just because it was like an elastic waistband and that was gonna like cinch it in a ton, and it did, and it like made it so that they like were wearable. They didn't like slide off of my body because I cut the elastic waistband to the right length that I needed for my body. Anyway, I sewed the shorts, put the elastic waistband in, and I was like, man, these are like really big. They're like cinching a lot. And I thought that it was just like a difference of, like it was just the vibe of the shorts. Like I thought it was just the pattern was a more like loose fitting short than I realized. And I was like looking at the picture just and I was like, I don't feel like this is right, but like maybe it is. And I was kind of actually between sizes on the sizing chart. And I went down to the smaller size. And I was like, I should have just gone down another size or two. Like, I don't know how this happened. These are just way too big. Anyway, I am not in love. Like, I wasn't in love with how they turned out. And I just like didn't really enjoy the act of sewing them. Like I did not enjoy making them very much. Like the whole time toward the end of when I was sewing them, I was like, I'm almost done. Like, please let this be end. Like I was so ready for it to be over with. And it's not like it was going that badly. Like I feel like it was going fine. Like I didn't have that many issues when I was sewing it. I feel like everything went, like it was pretty straightforward. But I just didn't like doing it, and I was just like thinking the whole time how much I'd rather be knitting, honestly. I was like, oh my god, I wish I was knitting. Like, this was so annoying to me. It took me like, I don't know, 4 hours or something. It wasn't that long, but it was like, this is just so much of my time. I wish I wasn't doing this right now. Anyway, so I didn't love sewing it. They turned out really big. I didn't really understand why. I thought it was just like the fit of the shorts. And then yesterday and also, side note, I also don't love the fabric that I chose for this. I believe this is Robert Kaufman, like Brussels washer linen or something. I don't even remember where I got it from, like fabric.com or something. And so it's like a 100% linen, and it doesn't feel great. Like it feels kind of scratchy, and I wish that it felt better as well. So anyway, I just was not in love with this. When I finished it, I was like, these are way too big for me to wear like out in public. And I'm going to be completely honest with y'all right now that as a person, I do not have the best like self-image. I feel like I put these shorts on and it just like really magnified that insecurity about me. And I was like, these are so big and I don't like the way that they look and I don't like the way that they feel and I just like don't feel good in them. And so anyway, I was like really unhappy and I didn't love the sewing process. And then yesterday, like I took a couple pictures in them and like it wasn't so bad. They were like they were cuter than I thought they were. And like, I don't know, part of that's probably just like posing in the way that I was like positioning myself in them. But I also decided to look up some information about like the sizing of the pattern and stuff and just like try to double check, like, did I sew the right size and everything? And I found the instructions on the front page of the pattern. Sorry, I did not mean to make this story so long, but I found the instructions on the front page of the pattern and they were like, you know, insisting that you need to make sure that when you print the pattern, you select your settings properly so that the scale is printed properly, so that it's like, I don't know, there was some setting that you're supposed to set when you print the pattern so that the scale is proper. And they said that the grid lines on the pattern should be 1 inch by 1 inch or 2.5 centimeters by 2.5 centimeters. And so I was like curious, I was like, could I have messed this up? So I went and I got my pattern piece and I measured my grid and it was like 1 1/8 inch, which like doesn't seem like it's off by that much. But like, if you think about a pattern piece, if a pattern piece is like 8 inches wide, or supposed to be 8 inches wide, and my grid is off by 1/8 of an inch, that would mean that it would be 1 inch wider than it was supposed to be. Like it would be 9 inches instead of 8 inches. And that's exactly what happened. I printed the pattern to the wrong scale And so my shorts turned out who knows how much bigger than they were supposed to. And you know what? That was a growth moment for me, and I learned from that. No, I am not considering fixing them. One, because it would be really complicated to fix them, because there's like a waistband here, and there's also like the legs have like pieces sewn at the bottom as well, and like it just would be more trouble than it's worth to me, honestly, to try to fix them. They are like somewhat wearable in their current form, but the other thing that I just really realized through this sewing project was I don't actually like sewing. Like, I just don't like doing it. I was not having a good time. And I think I really wanted to like sewing. I think I really wanted this to be a thing for me that was like, oh, I can knit and I can sew and I can make these whole outfits together and I can pair the knitting and the sewing together. And I wanted to love it so badly because I want the finished things so badly. But the actual act of doing it, I just really hate. And you know what? I am okay with that. I'm actually comfortable with not liking sewing. And the reason is because I don't need to add that into my, like, I have plenty of other crafting that I can do to like spend my time. I can spend my time knitting, I can spend my time spinning, and I don't need to sew. And so I think I'm at a point now where I have only a very small amount of fabric left in my stash. I may try to like de-stash some of it. And I may leave some of it in my stash because I do think that there's a point that I might get to where it's like, I want this thing so badly that I'm willing to sew it even though I don't love sewing. And I'm fine with that. Like, if there's a thing that I want so badly, I will sew it, but I'm not gonna continue like planning sewing projects, buying fabric. I don't think I'm gonna do anymore. I think I'm just gonna, and I have to say also, I think that I like sewing bags better than I like sewing garments. So I'm open to continuing to sew like bags and stuff. Like, I have a pattern that I found for a fanny pack. I really want to sew a fanny pack. I feel like that would be really fun. I enjoy that so much more than sewing garments. But I just don't think I'm going to sew garments anymore for the most part, unless it's something I really need, in which case I will. But otherwise, I think I'm done. And I'm really proud of myself for just like recognizing that about myself and being okay with it and like letting it go, you know? So I posted about this a little bit on Instagram, and I had a ton of people reach out and just be like, this is how I feel about sewing too. And I just want you to know that if you're watching this and you feel like you should like sewing or you want to like sewing and you don't, it's totally fine, and I'm with you, and it's okay if you don't love sewing. And it's okay if you do as well. Like, I know lots of people who love it, and I have so much respect for those folks, and I love that for you, and it couldn't be me, honestly. So that's my sewing nightmare. I made these shorts, I really messed it up, and I didn't like doing it. Like, just, this is like wider than my shoulders, like, and they're just really long. They're like basically to my knees. I don't know. It just didn't go great. So anyway, that's it for sewing. Let's stop talking about it because it's making me sad. Spinning. I don't really have any progress to share with you. I'm still working on the 3-ply that I talked about the last several episodes. This is my first bobbin. My second bobbin is still in my wheel and I didn't pull it out. So still I have a ways to go on that one, but I'm hoping to finish it up by the end of this month because in July is the Tour de Fleece. So I don't know if you all know about this. The Tour de Fleece, I honestly don't know a ton about this or like about its origins, but the general idea is that the Tour de France, I don't know whether I should say it in the American way or like in the more legitimate way, but the Tour, I'll we'll say in the American way. The Tour de France is happening, I think it's completely in July, like July 1st through 23rd or something like that. And so whenever the Tour de France is happening, you try to spin each day. And then you have like, I don't know, a lot of times I guess people will try to spin for a specific project. Andrea Mowry just sent out information and announced that she's going to be doing another spin along this year that kind of coincides with the Tour de France as well, for her Attune shawl. So just like having that project in mind, or like another project in mind, and you just like try to spin as much as you can, I guess, during that time. I think that there are like teams, and I think that it's like you can count up how much you spin, and I really am very hazy on the details, and I probably should have learned more about this before speaking on it. But it's not time yet. It's still June 7th. The Tour de France doesn't start until July, I believe. So I still have some time to figure out like what's going on. But Sarah from Craft Me Not, whose yarn is beautiful, and she's just a lovely person, and you should check out her yarn if you haven't already. I will include her information below as well if you want to check it out. She messaged me and a couple of other like budding spinners about just like hyping each other on for the Tour de France, or the Tour de Fleece rather, and like putting together somewhat of a casual team, and it has given me so much inspiration. I'm getting so excited about it. And I've been planning, I think I talked to you all before about spinning for a cinnabar shawl, and I think that I want that to be my like Tour de Fleece project. So I'm hoping, I don't know if I probably can't finish it during the Tour de Fleece period because I'm not a very quick spinner, but I really need to finish my sock yarn spin before July so that I can get started on my cinnabar spin. So I wanted to show you all, I don't remember if I actually showed this in the podcast or if I just showed like a picture of it. I remember I did, but I have my fiber that I'm going to spin up for cinnabar, and I wanted to show it to you all because I'm getting excited about it, and I pulled it out this morning to share with my friends. So I got this fiber as part of a patchwork kit from Hello Yarn. And some of y'all may remember my friend Maya and I actually each bought a patchwork kit, and then we did some like mixing and matching. And so these are the bundles that I have that I'm using as the contrast color, or planning to use as the contrast color for cinnabar. So I can't even hold them all up at the same time. I have these ones, and then I have two more. Let's see if I can get them all. I mean, now my hand is like blocking it, but basically, yeah, here they are. I have these beautiful, like, I get very much like colorful sunset vibes. There's like yellows, pinks, there's some darker like orangey and purpley red bits, and this one's really purple. That has good of that like ochre color. I've been really into this like ochre yellow color recently. Yeah, and I feel like it's just so pretty. Like, look at that one. Love this one. I love the ones that have like the little blue bits. Just like this one has like a little bit in there as well of the blue. But anyway, this is what I'm going to use for the contrast color, and then I have just some plain cream Rambouillet wool that I'm going to use as the main color. And I'm going to spin them both as 2-plies. I'm not sure what the pattern calls for as far as yarn weight goes. I think I'm shooting for like a Sport DK, which should be fine for me for a 2-ply. I should be able to get that, or at least get something close. And I'm hoping to be like really motivated and make good progress on that during the Tour de Fleece. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. But I wanted to show it to you all as well because I'm really excited about it, and I also am hoping to get some extra motivation from you, or from just like having voiced it out there into the world. So that is my Tour de Fleece plan. And that's pretty much all I had for crafting updates. I had a couple of just kind of like other general life updates that I wanted to share. I feel like my last couple of episodes, it's like, do you ever have that feeling when someone asks you like, what did you do this weekend? Or like, did you have a good weekend? And I don't know if this happens to anyone else, but my mind just goes completely blank, and I'm like, I can't think of anything I've ever done. I can't think of a single thing I did this weekend, or also ever. Like, I don't know, I become, like, my memory just evaporates as soon as someone asks me what I did this weekend. And so I almost feel like if I don't prepare and I don't write things down ahead of time to talk about at the end of the podcast, I feel like it's like you all are asking me, like, what did you do this weekend? And I can't remember. But I wrote some things down so that I actually remember what I did in the last couple weeks. So, first of all, I don't remember if I talked about this at all on the podcast, but my husband and I have gotten back into running a little bit. We don't, like, we're not like serious runners. We just trying to stay active, get outside, hiking, running, that kind of thing. And I think we both are kind of like goal-oriented people, and so we actually signed up for a 5K, the 5K at T-Mobile Park at the Mariners Stadium, and it was last week. And so we'd been running more regularly, like a couple times a week, just to try to get into shape and get ready for that 5K. And then the 5K happened on Sunday, and it went really well. We are really proud of how we did. I feel like we both felt great on that day, and our like time was better than we expected, and we were just like really happy with how it went. So that was a really fun thing, and it's also really fun to run a 5K in a baseball stadium. I don't know if that's a common thing or if they have like other stadiums where you can go and run a 5K, but it's not just like you run around the outside of the field. You basically, the way that the Mariners set it up is like you run all the way through the stadium. So you ran like up the ramps all the way up to like the 300 level, like the top concourse, and you're like running around there, and then you're running on like through the suite level, and then like through the parking garage and everything, and like down through the tunnel where the players go, and then you kind of finished on the field. And that was really, really fun. And it was really fun to be like back in the stadium. I mean, we've been going to games this season, but I hadn't been back in like lots of the other parts of the stadium that I frequented when I worked there. So it was really fun to just like get to run all the way around. And I got to see some of my coworkers from the Mariners as well that I hadn't seen in a bit. So that was really fun too. And then we came home and we made a nice big brunch as well. So this is also a Sunday brunch story, because we came home and we were like really hungry from having ran a 5K. And so we did like our kind of standard pancake, sausage, eggs. Nafis made lovely over easy eggs, and like homemade turkey sausage. I made some pancakes. Then we also made a quick smoothie as well with Greek yogurt and juice and frozen fruit, and it was really good too, and definitely hit the spot after a run. So we did that. We also, speaking of yummy things we made, I made a carrot cake. I'd never made a carrot cake before, but I also don't think I've ever eaten carrot cake before. I legitimately cannot remember a time I've ever tried carrot cake before this week. Which is wild because it's one of my husband's favorite cakes. He is a huge carrot cake fan. And so his birthday was last month, and I was planning to make a carrot cake for him for his birthday. But we had like a ton of other sweets and stuff, and so we wanted to kind of like eat through that before making it. And so we finally kind of like worked our way through like all the other sweets we had in the house. And so I made the carrot cake last weekend, and it was, I'll put the recipe down below. It was a brown butter carrot cake with a brown butter cream cheese frosting, and it was so good. I definitely, like, any time in my life where I had the option to have carrot cake, I would always choose a different option, because like, why would you choose the cake that has vegetables in it? But I mean, most of you are probably watching this and you're like, yes, Emily, you can't taste the carrots. But like, you can't taste the carrots. It's just like really nice. It has a great flavor. This one had like cinnamon and cardamom in it, and the brown butter flavor was really great. And it was just really, really good. And I hadn't seen a ton of these before, but it's like a small batch carrot cake. So it was just like the two of us. We didn't have a ton left over. It was just like a very small amount of carrot cake. So I made a great carrot cake, and I'm adding that to my list of like, will make again for sure. Also, another really fun thing that we did recently is yesterday, we had professional photos taken. My husband and I, it is actually our 5th wedding anniversary this year, which is so much fun and so exciting. And so we decided we wanted to get some professional photos taken, and it felt like it was a good time, like maybe like yearly photos maybe is a little bit much, but we thought maybe every 5 years we could try to get photos taken. And that could just like, you know, we could have really nice photos of each kind of like phase of our lives. I don't know, like maybe that's weird or emotional of me to want, but I thought it would be really fun. And the last professional photos we had were from our wedding, which was 5 years ago, literally 5 years ago this month. So we wanted to get some professional photos taken, so we went and did that last night. But I also had contacted the photographer to see if she would be interested in doing some product photography for me so that I could get some really nice photos taken of my samples for my knitwear designs. So she was super into it, and so we did both sessions last night, and I can't even tell you how incredible it went. The photographer that we worked with was incredibly kind, and it was a beautiful day. The weather was great, the location was great. We actually got some photos with Norman as well, and so I can't wait to see those. I'm just like so excited about all the photos that we took yesterday. I was really, really nervous beforehand. Just like not knowing what to expect, and I also just, I don't know, just, you know, general like body image anxieties and like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna look bad, or like it's gonna go poorly or whatever. And I can't tell you how empowering it was for me to have like these professional photos taken. It was just like really, she was like, the photographer was just hyping us up and was so kind, and she really just like took so much time to make sure that she was getting the shots that we wanted. And especially with my like my knitwear samples, she did such an incredible job of just like making sure that we were getting everything that I was needing. And so my hope is that I'll have those professional photos to use in the patterns themselves, but also just so that I can share really great high quality photos of my samples so that people have a really great idea what they look like. And a professional is always going to do a better job at like capturing those knitwear designs or anything than I will, because I'm not a photographer and I'm not a photo editor, so I don't know how to do that as well as she does. So it was really, really exciting, and it was really fun, and it was literally yesterday, so I'm not gonna get the photos back for a while, but I seriously cannot wait. Like, I can't stop thinking about seeing the photos. I also was able to get a couple of my other knits. We had time to do a couple of my other knits that were not designs, and I got some professional photos of them taken, and I'm really excited to see those as well. There's like a couple of photos in there that I'm just like, oh, that was so good. Like, I don't know, I can't wait to see it. So definitely well worth it, and I'm just really pleased with how that went, and I can't wait to see the photos. So yeah, that is pretty much what we've been up to. I mentioned briefly that we have a trip, like a vacation upcoming. We are going actually with my family to some national parks up in the northern US. We're going to Yellowstone and Teton and Glacier National Parks for about a week, and we're leaving just a few days from now. We're leaving on Sunday, and I'm really excited. I haven't seen a lot of my family in a while, like my brother and sister I have not seen since the holidays, and that is absolutely killing me. Like, it's been way too long since I've seen them, and I can't handle it. So I'm really, really looking forward to seeing them and spending time with family, and also going to some new national parks. So I will be away next week, and I think I think it'll be needed, it is needed, just a little bit of a break. I think it's easy to just like get going in your routine, and I think having little things to break it up is really helpful. So having that and like getting to spend time with family and outside in nature and just slow down a little bit, I think is going to be really nice. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all I had written down to talk about. So if I forgot something, then it was previous Emily's fault, not my like in the moment memory blindness that happens to me. But I am really appreciative that you tuned in, and like if you listened to that whole thing, if you made it past the sewing rant, that is honestly like, I'm very impressed. But I need to hop off, and we take Norm out for a little walk, and I need to probably go downstairs so that I'm not too hot. I probably shouldn't be wearing knitwear. That's probably maybe what could be contributing. Like, I also think this is like somewhat of a warm blend. Like, it's like an alpaca and wool blend or something. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I'm getting distracted. It's time to leave. I am so appreciative of y'all. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you do lots of knitting and watch lots of baseball and have a great week.